What's good, guys? It's Daz and my man Petzergling, and this is the fourth set of the Lost Saga MSL Group 8. It's the losers game between fOrGG and C, fOrGG having lost to Stork, and C having lost to, in a surprise, having lost to go.go in a kind of a strange game where go.go was able to not really outplay C, but C's decision making at some points in the game was just so poor that even though he was able to kind of out-control go.go, go.go really kind of outthought him and outsmarted him throughout the entire game. So hopefully, C doesn't play like a robot in this game, and we're actually able to see his really good mechanics and control shine through, and he doesn't just get crushed by fOrGG, who I thought to say in every way is probably a superior Terran to go.go.
Yeah, and we're seeing another TVT here, and the last game has been pretty long, and I have to imagine with both of these players that this game might drag out pretty long, especially on a map like this. We saw the group, Group G finals game went on for a very long time, and for sinking, 1-0, and we're off. So, I'm sure that not everyone enjoys a lot of TVT, but I mean, at the very least, especially on 1v1 maps, we see a lot of interesting play. Hopefully, a lot of players, at least Terran players, don't play a lot of TVT. So, I mean, at the most, I hope you guys can learn something from this and see, how pro gamers who actually do play TVT and don't switch to Pro Toss on iCup play their games. And, at C, he played a pretty weak game versus go.go, and one thing I've always noticed about C, especially, I mean, it really came out on that last game. I mean, he is really a hermit to change. I mean, he just plays kind of the standard thing, and which is good. I mean, the standard game is very good. I mean, he really doesn't have a reason to deviate, but it just seems like he doesn't really switch stuff up, and he's a very methodical player. But now versus fOrGG, who I think is really content with that. I think not only is fOrGG, his macro is just amazing and definitely superior to that of C's, but fOrGG is such a very technical player, and his times are just so technical that, a really normal kind of non-deviation player like C is definitely going to have problems with a player like fOrGG. So not saying that fOrGG is a huge favorite, but I would definitely, as much as I hate to say it, I think C's going to be leaving this group 0-2.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you on that. I think fOrGG is also a really super solid mechanical player. And given that they both like to play a really straight up game, I have no idea what the hell they're showing right there. But yeah, given that they both like to play a really solid straight up mechanical game, I definitely have to give the edge to fOrGG in the macro. He's just much more of a technical, solid player. So I mean, if C plays straight up, he's kind of playing to fOrGG's strengths. I mean, that's C's strength as well, but fOrGG is better at it. So I don't know. Maybe we'll surprise us and show us something new and interesting, but probably not. I mean, definitely showing his unwillingness to adapt. I think we see an early scout here from fOrGG. I don't know why he's sending his CV out so early, but I would really be totally shocked if C did something different. Considering, I mean, in the last game he played, he showed a complete unwillingness to play the map. I mean, he just went with his standard TVT style play, even though the map has definitely been shown to be a vulture map. He decided to go tanks anyway, and it was really just a terrible decision, and led to him losing to a super weak player. That's a pretty
Look at that
creative sign.
Like, one advantage that I think fOrGG has over any opponent is his signs are always just so much better. I mean, look at C's sign.
Dude, I think that's C.
It's a picture of... Yeah, no, I know. I mean, that's a picture of C over, like, a girl's body. Like, fOrGG, I don't know if the game you saw it, the last one, it was like the sign said impossible, and then it said I'm possible. Like, wow. I mean, keep in mind they're Korean.
Pretty clever for someone who doesn't speak.
So, yeah, exactly. And, I guess a couple things to point out in opening. C definitely scouted a little, or fOrGG actually scouted a little bit early, just for clarification. fOrGG, red Terran, bottom right, and C, blue Terran, upper left. fOrGG scouted very quickly, but C built the Marine before his first factory, but he did build it a little bit forward. But, both players, making very slight hits to their economy, but that stuff is definitely noticeable in early rush builds. But, yeah, I mean, I really can't, it looks like fOrGG took his SCVs out off gas, and I believe C did the same. Both players going for the real standard Vulture expand. Looks like only 2 Marines and probably either 1 to 2 Vultures, depending on how aggressive they want to get with it. fOrGG's expansion slightly ahead, but just both players exactly the same. But, you know, I just, actually, it looks like C didn't produce any Vulture, and he's going straight to tank.
fOrGG halting,
So
sorry, those C wasn't making SCVs there for a second. Just have to point that out. His SCV production was halted there.
Yeah, I guess, you know, he just wanted to get that tank out. He may fear some early aggression. I mean, fOrGG, the time attacker, you know, he got the Marine out. He actually cut SCVs. You know, although very, very slightly, you know, it's a minimal SCVs. He's still probably to get that tank really early on. And fOrGG, I'm not sure if he knows that C went for that tank, but fOrGG advancing upon... No, actually, I think that's just another... Oh, no, that's his barracks. I thought for some reason it was moving quickly. But fOrGG's SCV returning, and I just can't stress enough how much of a crazy good player fOrGG is. I mean, he's like... Not only is he like the crazy mechanical time attacker in the late game where he just plays flawlessly, but, you know, he's just such a force to be reckoned with because he's got such technical mid-game rush builds. I mean, if you ever want to learn a lot of good Terran versus Terran, not cheese rush builds, but very technical mid-game rush builds, I would check out the Arena MSL round of 4 fOrGG versus Flash, where fOrGG took down the pretty much unstoppable Flash 3-1, you know, and then after that he beat Jaedong. So I mean, after that series, I was pretty much converted to a fOrGG fan, and I actually, you know, I don't mean to make fun of fOrGG by saying I play like him, but I try and adapt as much of fOrGG's style as possible. But I mean, for the most part, both players now it's kind of shifted to more of a macro phase. I mean, I don't think either player's put down their armory or an academy. I think just supply depots and advancing their factories. So both players really don't expect either to deviate, and I think we're going to see a really long, drawn-out standard game here from both players.
That was correct me if I'm mistaken here, because I'm not that great with my TVT timings, but that was a pretty quick 3 factories by fOrGG. Yeah, C's still on only 2 factories, and I guess that's because C decided to go for an armory. It looks like he's going for the same build. It looks like we're seeing a repeat of the last game where fOrGG is going for a heavy Vulture style, getting a 3rd factory quickly, whereas C is going for 2 factories, I think both with add-ons and an early armory. And I mean, this is not the same map as before. There's definitely not, I mean, it's a 2-player map, but it's probably going to play out in a similar fashion. I mean, we have a lot of different pathways around the map and a lot of open space and a lot of large distances. A lot of Vultures by fOrGG. It looks like he might go for some kind of break here. If he doesn't have siege on those tanks, it might work, even though tanks are so much superior. It's all going to depend on his mine placement. He's probably going to have to back off and just contain here. No, he's actually going to try to run in. Okay, he sees there's too many tanks and Goliaths. He's going to back off and probably set up a contain. I'm kind of surprised to see CC going for the exact same kind of build, but it probably is going to work a little better on this kind of map. What do you think about that?
I just think it's really funny how C just refuses to build Vultures. I mean, he even did the standard Vulture expand build order, but he didn't even build a Vulture. He just made 2 Marines and then expanded. And, you know, I guess it worked out for him, but I mean, I don't know. You know, it's just strange that he just refuses to make Vultures. He just doesn't want to. And C trying to... Wow, nice move there, actually. SCV, man, his SCV went AFK there, but I think he really could have snuck it out, got a lot of information. I mean, even though he didn't know it, he just snuck right between 2 Vultures, just barely. And, you know, scouting is really important in TVT, especially when you get contained set up and you don't always have a lot of units back in your base. And we saw C had that problem. Nice scan, and I guess the early academy pays off here. That's not, you know, only for Wraiths. The early academy with the scans helps out a lot on map control. It helps clear out a lot of mines, and it really nullifies at least a little bit of what fOrGG does. And fOrGG, I think from what I saw there, only had an armory. He didn't have his scanners down, and I think, oh wow, nice siege tank there, actually taking down that mine. I don't know why I didn't think it would take it out, but fOrGG is trying to lay down as much mines as possible, and you know, the mines are real good in the mid game because they slow down C, and you see that now that C has a lot of tanks and he's starting to move out, and he's going to try and, you know, somewhat divide the map and take as much expansions as possible. But because fOrGG's got all those mines out, he knows exactly where C's forces are, and he can take that early 3rd exactly like go.go did with these early Vultures, and he's going to take the lead almost early on. And it looks like C is actually shelling the middle tank temples, tanks are extremely good at taking down buildings like that, especially if they're stacked at like Medusa, it's a lot better, but still better than vultures. So it looks like C is going to try and play a more two base aggressive build, while fOrGG is going